The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. I've got a bunch of mail that all kind of came in at once, asking the same question. I thought it was a really weird question, and then I remembered, this question is asking a question without mentioning the true question that it's asking. It's one of those, it's a question within a questionception is what's going on. So we'll read one of these mails here. Who will be the lucky one? Let's see. Dear Perch Perchington. Well, of course I'm going to have the person who went with full-on Perch Perchington. The only way to beat that is Perch P. Perchington, the perched. Anyway, I don't know what I'm saying right now. All right. Dear Perch Perchington, I'm curious about creators of comics, namely, who is the creator of a comic? Recently, there was a character that will remain nameless, they mean Sunspider, where a creator, and it's in quotes here, has taken credit for creating, that's a lot of creating, so we're a little use of word creating anyway, creating the character, even though the character was actually created several years earlier. My question is, if anyone who writes any character can officially be the creator of a character, what does it mean to have anyone cite? Okay, this mail got very confusing. All right, basically, the question is, who is a creator of a character? So take Spider-Man. Who is the creator of Spider-Man? Well, the creator is Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, by what we've been told on the comic book for years and years and years. And typically, when you have sequential storytelling, when you have kind of long-form episodic storytelling, the people who originally came up with the idea of the character, not always the people who actually did the comic, but the person, because sometimes, believe it or not, a writer and an artist will kind of sit together, will kind of come up with the plan for a character, will kind of write it all out, draw the little sketches, kind of say, this character is done, write the backstory, kind of all that kind of stuff. And that's it. Those two people will kind of come up with an idea, and then they basically get somebody else to do the comic. But more often than not, the first issue of a new character appearing, or a kind of ongoing series, like G. Willow Wilson's writing Miss Marvel, and then in comes a random kind of villain, kind of midway through the series, and if that villain takes off and is popular, and then spins out into other comics, you'd say G. Willow Wilson, creator of this villain. Typically, in a sane world, that's how it goes. So that's the question. That's the answer. It's that simple. The person, and I think my guess is that 99% of the people listening to this would agree with that general take. It's like whoever came up with the idea of the character is a creator. And because comics are a visual medium, that usually means a writer and an artist. So even if, for example, I'm going through all the different scenarios here, a writer comes up with an idea for a character, and that writer, spends 2 years crafting and carefully going through meticulous backstory and all the different ways that this character could be. Maybe makes a few sketches, but they're not an artist. Most sketches like stick figures with little clothes hanging off of them. Anyway, the person comes up with this idea, and then 2 years later, the writer, with a fully formed idea of the story of this character, hires an artist and says, I'd like this character to look, mid-30s, and needs to have a yellow costume and a cape and a bunch of other bullshit. Wants those pirate boots like Captain America used to have, all that kind of stuff. And I've just described Mabcap for some reason. Anyway, but basically, the writer tells the artist kind of, this is what I want you to do, and the artist sketches it out. Typically, you would still credit the first artist who made these sketches and identified kind of the look and feel of this character as a co-creator. Typically, that's the way it works. That's the ethical way to do it. If two writers come together and come up with when DNA, when that team of writers were working together, or the Russos were working together, let's say in movies, and they come up with a new character, you'd credit the two of them and the artist or whoever did that, in the comic. So that's typically how it works. Now, if a creator comes along later and makes a major change to that character, like for example, we've seen a lot of like who was the creator of Cable? Okay, well, you probably say Rob Liefeld, Fabian Nicieza, right? Or was that right? That's Dib. Anyway, um, even though Nathan Summers, the baby, was actually created earlier, the Cable as a character, the concept, the look, the feel, the kind of the backstory, everything that happened is different enough that you wouldn't credit, kind of the original with Louise Simonson. I'm getting all these things now. God, I need to go back and read those issues. Anyway, hopefully you get my point. I actually think the Louise Simonson. Anyway, well, that's fine. But the point here is, if the character radically, dramatically changes, then it's still fair to say, this version of the character, basically, little baby Summers was created by one person and Cable was created by a different person. It would still be okay to kind of credit them that way. However, if you take, I don't know, if you take, again, Steve Ditko and Stan Lee creating Spider-Man, and you think about everything that's happened and all the different writers who've done things, like Dan Slott made several changes to Peter Parker Spider-Man. Gave him a different costume at time, made him a tech billionaire, made him a douche again, all that kind of stuff that Dan Slott did, as Dan Slott does. You would still not call Dan Slott the creator of Spider-Man. You wouldn't even call him a co-creator of Spider-Man. That would be absurd. Because there's a difference between creating a character and basically, giving the character story development. Even though you could, even though you could make an argument to say, hey, if really important things like, well, hell, should Brian Michael Bendis be listed as a co-creator to Iceman because Bendis made Iceman gay? He wasn't gay before, and then Bendis basically made the story development to have him come out and be gay. Okay, what about Cena Grace? Cena Grace was the first one to do the solo series after Bobby Drake came out, and he basically explored dating and other things and being gay. So should Cena Grace be listed as a co-creator? Well, of course not. It's character development. It's a big change, but you wouldn't list Bendis or Grace. You would list the creator of Iceman being Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. That's what you would do. But so where all this is coming from is this T. Franklin maybe taking co-writer credit for the Sun Spider character that existed before. And I think the argument that T. Franklin made was that she made changes to Sun Spider, or she made, I don't know, she big character development moments in the character of Sun Spider, like an 8-page backup story, and therefore, because of that, T. Franklin should be listed as co-creator because she fleshed out the character and made a big difference to her personality. I don't think that's how it works. That's typically not, how I make it. Yeah, that's not how I would call it. In general, I think the whole fight over who is listed as a creator, in many ways, for me, and I'm only talking for me, it's a bit of a silly fight, in my opinion. No, I'm not saying that people shouldn't be, conned out of their creations. I just think, I don't know, like, would I be going to a big fight over proper crediting for Sun Spider? I personally wouldn't. If I was somebody who came, I probably wouldn't. It didn't mean much to me. For others, I get as a writer or an artist, you want to be credited for what you do and all the rest. It just, I don't understand the big draw in the first place, but I absolutely think it's silly when a writer comes along later and makes a kind of, big change to the character's personality and then suddenly wants to be claimed as a co-creator. In fairness, I've never actually ever seen anyone do that. I'm using all these as examples, but to my knowledge, Brian Michael Bendis has never showed up and gone, I deserve to be co-creator of Iceman because I let him come out of the closet, and that's a major change to his character, and I forever changed him, so now I get to be listed as a co-creator of the character. I've never seen Bendis do that, nor can I ever imagine Bendis doing that. Does Tom King, because he used, Kite Man or Condiment Man as Kite Man in his comics, does Tom King get to be labeled as the co-creator of Kite Man? No, I don't hear Tom King asking for that. And if we open up the door to that, that's just anarchy. That's dogs and cats living together. It's like, God, you'll never end. Like, the credits, these characters will be a 50-page novel or especially for things like the Spider-Man or Superman or Batman, who've had decades of comics. Like that doesn't work if you're going to get into crediting everything. But I don't know. What do you think? Should people get credited for every storyline development? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, and thanks for listening.